Welcome back to Women with Assurance. In today's episode, we're going to talk about something incredibly important when it comes to maintaining mental health, self-esteem, and personal growth: setting boundaries. Boundaries are essential for protecting our emotional and mental well-being. But so many of us struggle with setting them, especially when it comes to family, work, or even ourselves. In this episode, we'll explore why boundaries are crucial for self-respect and how they allow us to preserve our energy, maintain healthy relationships, and nurture our sense of self-worth. I'll also be sharing examples of healthy boundaries and practical steps on how you can begin setting them in your own life. So, let's get into it. Why boundaries matter for self-respect. Boundaries are like invisible walls that protect your time, energy, and emotions. They are the limits we set for ourselves and others in terms of what we're willing to accept and what we won't. Boundaries are essential for self-respect because they reflect how much we value ourselves and our well-being. 1. Protecting your mental health. When we don't set boundaries, we risk feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and emotionally drained. Constantly saying yes to things that don't align with our needs or values can lead to burnout, resentment, and even anxiety. Boundaries help us preserve our mental health by allowing us to say no when we need to without guilt. 2. Maintaining self-esteem. Boundaries are a direct reflection of how much we value ourselves. When we allow others to overstep our boundaries, we send the message that our needs, feelings, and time aren't important. But when we set clear boundaries, we affirm that we are worthy of respect, care, and consideration. It shows others and ourselves that we deserve to be treated with dignity. 3. Protecting your energy. Boundaries help us manage our energy. If we're constantly giving without taking time for ourselves, we'll eventually feel depleted. Setting boundaries allows us to conserve energy for the things that matter most: our personal growth, our loved ones, and our own well-being. Examples of healthy boundaries. Now, let's talk about what healthy boundaries look like in different areas of our lives. Boundaries aren't just about saying no, they're also about saying yes to what supports and nourishes you. 1. In relationships, healthy relationships are built on mutual respect. When we set boundaries, we show others how we expect to be treated. For example, emotional boundaries, setting limits on how much emotional energy you give to others and how much you allow them to take from you. If someone is consistently draining you emotionally or being disrespectful, it's important to set boundaries to protect your peace. Time boundaries, making time for yourself and ensuring that your time isn't constantly consumed by others. Saying no to last-minute requests, for example, if it interferes with your personal time or commitments. Example: I used to feel obligated to attend every family gathering, even if I was feeling overwhelmed or needed time to rest. But I realized that my mental health mattered more, so I began saying no when I needed to, and I communicated my need for personal space. Over time, my family understood, and I felt more in control of my time and energy. 2. At work. Work boundaries are essential to prevent burnout and maintain a healthy work-life balance. Some examples include setting boundaries around availability, letting your colleagues and boss know when you're available and when you're not. For instance, not responding to work emails after hours or on weekends unless it's an emergency. Saying no to unreasonable requests. If your workload is too heavy or you're being asked to take on tasks outside your job description, setting clear boundaries ensures you aren't overburdened or taken advantage of. Example: early in my career, I would say yes to every additional task or project, even when I was already stretched thin, but I realized that doing so wasn't sustainable. I began setting clearer work boundaries, saying no when needed, and prioritizing my own well-being. It was a game changer for my mental health and productivity. 3. With yourself. Setting boundaries with yourself is just as important as setting them with others. This involves recognizing when you need rest, when to avoid negative habits, and when to prioritize your self-care. Time boundaries. Setting aside time each day for activities that nurture your mental, emotional, and physical well-being, such as reading, exercise, or practicing mindfulness. Limiting negative self-talk. Creating a boundary against negative or self-critical thoughts and replacing them with positive, empowering affirmations. Example: I had to set boundaries with myself when it came to overworking and not taking enough breaks. I started scheduling regular moments of rest throughout my day, where I would take a short walk or do something creative to recharge. This allowed me to be more productive and less burnt out. How to start setting boundaries. Now that we understand why boundaries are important and what they look like, let's explore how you can start setting them in your life. 1. Identify your needs and limits. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing your needs and limits. What do you need to feel respected and balanced in your relationships, work, and personal life? What are you no longer willing to tolerate? Actionable tip. Take some time to reflect on the areas of your life where you're feeling drained or overwhelmed. Write down what needs to change and what kind of boundaries you want to put in place. 2. Communicate your boundaries clearly. Once you've identified your boundaries, communicate them with clarity and confidence. Be direct and assertive, but also respectful. It's important to express your needs without feeling guilty or apologetic. Actionable tip. Practice saying no when you need to. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you practice, the easier it will become. 3. Stand firm in your boundaries. Setting boundaries is one thing, but sticking to them is another. It's important to stand firm and reinforce your boundaries when they're tested, even if others try to push them. Remember, your boundaries are there to protect your well-being, and you have every right to maintain them. Actionable tip. If someone challenges your boundaries, calmly and firmly remind them of your limits. You don't have to justify your boundaries to anyone. They are there for your protection. Closing thoughts. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's an act of self-respect. When we set healthy boundaries, we're telling ourselves that we value our mental health, time, and emotional energy. Boundaries allow us to cultivate stronger relationships, perform better at work, and lead more balanced, fulfilling lives. As you move forward, I encourage you to identify one area of your life where you need to set a boundary and take the first step toward making it happen. You deserve to be respected and to protect your peace. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Women with Assurance. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts or any boundary setting experiences with me in the comments section. In the next episode, we'll be diving into the power of self-love and how embracing it can transform your life. Self-care as an act of self-love. Don't miss it.